Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. When I entered the house at 3 in the morning, Lauren was already waiting for me. The moment I stepped through the door, her first words, sharp and accusing, cut through the silence. "Where have you been all night?" Her arms hung at her sides, but her voice was full of rage. The intensity of her stare felt like it could burn right through me. "Come in," she added, but her tone was more of an order than an invitation. The dim light from the coffee maker caught my attention. Without saying a word, I glanced at it, hoping there was still some coffee left. She didn't respond, just kept staring. I grabbed my mug from the counter and poured the last few drops from the pot. Leaning against the hard edge of the counter, I took a long sip. The coffee was scalding hot, but it tasted bitter and stale, like it had been sitting there for hours, a nasty reminder of how the night had gone. I knew the questions would keep coming, and I didn't have to wait long. "Stevie, I've been calling you since 9 o'clock last night." Her words flew out fast, almost too fast. "I left you a bunch of messages. Your phone was off. I thought something had happened to you. You couldn't even call me back?" Her voice wavered, caught between anger and worry. She said all of this in one breath, her face flushed with irritation. Her eyes, red from what I guessed was a sleepless night, bore into me, demanding answers. She stood there in an old robe, arms crossed, nervously shifting from foot to foot. "So, where were you?" She leaned forward, gripping the back of the kitchen chair. "I got some bad news yesterday," I finally answered, my voice low and steady. I needed to be alone, to think. I didn't break eye contact, trying to gauge her reaction. Her anger started to fade as my words sank in. "Oh," she muttered, her tone softening, almost apologetic. "I didn't know. Why didn't you say anything?" She took a small step toward me, her voice now filled with concern. "It must have been something serious if you didn't come home last night. You could have called. I would have understood." Her worry seemed genuine. As my mind drifted back to the news I'd received, I knew she would have understood. "What happened?" she asked gently, her voice now full of sympathy, as if trying to break down the wall between us. I looked at her, the woman I'd spent 33 years with, the mother of our children, the one who had stood by my side for so long. I wanted to tell her everything, but the words felt heavy, hard to get out. For a moment I was back in the nightmare of the last few hours, trying to force myself to speak. Finally I said, "Yesterday, I lost my best friend." Her face darkened. "Oh no," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. She was about to say something, but it seemed the weight of what I had just said silenced her. "Oscar, for a second I thought you said your best friend had died. Jake's fine. He's alive. I talked to him twice last night, and he even went out driving trying to find you," my wife said, setting her coffee cup on the counter and turning to me with hope in her eyes. "I didn't say it was Jake, did I?" My words came out sharply, and the silence that followed carried the weight of everything I didn't want to say. I saw Lauren's face pale, her body tense with realization. She knew exactly what I had uncovered, the full extent of her betrayal and who it involved. "I just want to understand why." The private investigator's report laid it all out with unbearable clarity, more than I ever wanted to know. The suspicions had been eating at me for some time, but seeing the truth laid bare was still like a punch that knocked the wind out of me. "Lauren, how could this happen? The thought had never even crossed my mind." "Oscar, it was a stupid, meaningless mistake. It only happened once, and it won't happen again. We can get through this. You're the only one I love," she pleaded, her voice trembling, her eyes filling with tears. But the lie was too weak to hold up now. After everything I had seen, after listening to the recordings and staring at those pictures, there was no room left for reconciliation. Fortunately, the kids were already grown and independent, so they didn't have to witness this nightmare. About 10 minutes later, while I was packing my things for the next few days, I heard her talking on the phone. Her voice was quiet, the words barely audible through the door. "Oscar, I'm so sorry. she whispered, but the apology felt hollow, coming far too late. I didn't even turn around when I said, "I'll come back for the rest once I figure out where I'm going to stay." There was no need for goodbyes, no last kiss, no whispered promises. I walked out of our home, perhaps for the last time, without looking back. I felt shattered, as if the ground beneath me had disappeared. How do you move forward when the woman you trusted most is no longer by your side? How do you lose both your wife and best friend at the same time and find the strength to keep going? It seemed I would have to learn somehow. 3 months passed, and our divorce was finalized. Lauren had to move out of my house with 20% of all our assets, as outlined in our agreement. I often met with our children, who were shocked by their mother's actions. I continued moving forward, finding new interests and relationships. Less than a year later, I received the sad news that Lauren was terminally ill and in serious condition. Our children asked me to visit her in the hospital, but I believe that woman doesn't deserve my attention. I think she took 33 years of my life from me, and now karma has caught up with her. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. After she finished her full explanation, detailing how I should understand her love and everything related to it, I paused and responded, "Let me clarify if I understood you correctly. You need to figure yourself out better. And to do that, you plan to date other men. Depending on how things go, you might even end up in bed with them. Is that right?" Her eyes lit up as if she felt relief from my calm response. "Yes, exactly, darling. Believe me, this will bring fresh energy into our relationship." I smiled as I got up from my chair. Brilliant idea. "Seriously?" she asked, slightly surprised. "I think you've really come up with something. This will definitely spice up our intimacy. Why didn't I think of it earlier?" The look of surprise on Emma's face is something I'll remember for a long time. "So you're really okay with this?" she asked again, still trying to process my reaction. "More than okay, I'm thrilled. Why wouldn't I be? It sounds amazing. By the way, where did you get this brilliant idea?" She gave me a cautious glance, trying to read my expression. After a brief pause, she waved her hand nonchalantly and said, "I just stumbled upon it on the internet. Honestly, I was afraid you'd get upset. Not every husband would accept this way of improving a marriage." "I don't see why they wouldn't like it," I said with a sly smile. "It makes perfect sense. Did any of your friends or colleagues try it?" She hesitated a bit, but, seeing my mocking grin, finally said, "David from work sent me an article. He's married too." "Ah, I see," I nodded. "Is that what they do? Is that why they seem so happy?" I teased her a bit, remembering how I'd only seen her boss and his family a couple of times at work events, and they didn't particularly stand out among other young families. "Yes, that's exactly right," Emma confirmed, gaining confidence in her explanation. "Perfect," I said, pulling out my phone and dialing a number. "Hey, Noah here. Imagine this. Emma is totally fine with me going to the party with you." There was a short pause. Then an excited voice came through on the other end. "Are you serious? That's awesome. So 7 o'clock? "Absolutely. And don't forget to wear that skirt you had on last time." I hung up just as Emma began to snap out of her shock. "Who was that?" she asked, her voice suspicious. "Who else? Grace from next door, the one with the oversized implants." I paused for a moment. "What do you think, Emma? Does she suit me?" Emma's chest wasn't particularly large, but just enough to fit comfortably in my hand. I knew it was a low blow, but she had started this conversation with her absurd talk about other men. The message was clear. She had essentially hinted that the man she had her eye on was a better option than me, the man she had spent 13 long years with. In such a situation, everything's fair game, so I didn't hold back. Before she could pretend she hadn't heard, I continued, not letting her interrupt. Her friends were hosting a party, and since it was mostly couples, she didn't want to go alone. "So you're going to show up with some busty bimbo?" she spat, her tone sharp enough to make anyone nearby flinch. "What kind of game is this?" Just following your advice, doing what's best for our marriage, I replied calmly. What? She stammered, nearly choking on her words. What are you even talking about? You know, your brilliant idea. We go out with other people and suddenly our marriage comes alive, becomes more exciting. You're insane? I never said you could run off and hang out with some neighbor, she hissed. How am I supposed to tolerate that? What's the problem? I shrugged. You'll be with your genius David, enjoying his company. We'll just go have dinner, maybe catch a movie, just getting to know each other a little better while you're having fun too. Getting to know each other better, I mockingly repeated the air quotes. Let's be honest. You work with him every day. You probably know him better than his own wife. Me? She scoffed. I barely know his wife, Grace. We just exchange smiles in the elevator, that's it. Well, then you're already ahead of me, aren't you? I need to catch up. I felt a grin spread across my face, and I tried to keep it from getting too wide. Everything was going even better than I could have imagined. Luckily, the tracker I had hidden in her phone had already told me everything I needed to know. Now I couldn't wait to see how Grace would fit into all of this. I had set up an entire ordeal for her, and when she couldn't tolerate my dates with other beauties any longer, I filed for divorce and left her without a home. She needed variety. Well, now her life would be filled not only with variety, but with complications as well. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.